The Home Office has reported this week that more than 10% of British men, that's around 2.4 million, have paid for sex at least once in their lives. The report also concluded that around 870,000 men, many of whom are married or in a stable relationship, pay for sex on a regular basis. So, do you think you could forgive your man if you discovered he'd visited a so-called working girl?
Do you know, I knew you were going to look at me to start this. I wouldn't condone it, and I certainly wouldn't go, oh, yeah, that's fine, you can do that once a week or even once a month. If I had to, if I found out he'd gone out with some friends, a group of lads, and they happened to end up paying for sex, I could forgive that easier than finding out he'd had an affair with somebody.
Why?
And I could actually forgive it easier than finding out he chatted someone up all night in a nightclub, maybe bought her a meal, blah, 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 wined and dined her, and then ended up having sex with her. Because I think, for me, that is just about the sex. There's no emotional attachment. It's just a lad being a lad and showing off in front of his mates or whatever, or it's just the fact he wants to have sex. There's no emotional attachment, certainly from her part, and not from his part either, otherwise he wouldn't be paying for it. He'd chat someone up. And I think it's harder to cope with.
What if you found out that it hadn't been with, like, a group of mates, if he'd just gone off by himself and done it and hadn't been coerced or anything like that? He'd made the decision by himself, as many women find themselves in that situation. They find out that's what their husbands have done.
Well, I think it depends, because if you think that you've been in a really happy, loving relationship, and as far as you're concerned there's nothing wrong with your sex life and all of that, then it must be very shocking to find out he's gone and done that. So I'd want to know the reasons why.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have to be very honest, and if you're the woman at home that has, you know, decided at the age of 35 that you're too old for sex or whatever, then he's not going to, you know. But I think men... You see, I think men and sex, or women, they think about it differently than women think of sex, because with women, it's about emotional involvement, and with men, it doesn't have to be.
Some women, it's about emotional.
But I have to say, sex, if you're in a relationship, you're married, you're happy, you've got children, or you haven't got children, you're just happy, there is something wrong in your relationship if that man has to go out and pay for sex. Now, as far as I'm concerned, maybe just I'm stupid, but I would hope that my husband wouldn't need to go and pay for sex with a prostitute.
Yeah, because you're taking it as a personal insult to you. That's
but
the
sex
problem.
isn't like brushing your hair in a relationship.
Well,
sex is a big part.
It is. For some men, it's purely just sex, and the fact they're paying for it makes it exciting.
Well, maybe I have too much faith in men.
It's
then.
not that...
Maybe
well, yeah, look where that's got you.
Well, exactly, but... Sorry, Den,
Can I just pick up on a point there, Zoe?
Yes.
You've stressed over and over again that a man had to pay for sex. What is that the bit that gets you? If a man went out and bought a lady flowers and dinner and clothes and shoes, is that not paying for sex? Just
it's all the same. It's all the same for me. If it's whether he's paying for it, whether he's not paying for it, whether it was a one-nighter or whether it's a year's affair. For me, personally, I think it's all the same. It's unforgiving and it's disrespectful.
And unforgivable.
Unforgivable.
But Zoe, don't you think that sometimes it could be the saviour of a marriage, that some people go, well, why not? Because some
he's
some
touched
men
somebody else. He's been with somebody else. How can you not think about that anymore?
Because men are different. You know, men are different, and some people like a bit of variety sometimes, and it's not that you wouldn't be... And I just want to say, it's my husband Tim's birthday today, so you didn't have to pay for it, the need flower. You'll be all right.
Anyway... Oh, yes, it's that once a year, Denise.
I'm sort of playing devil's advocate, but I agree with the girls, well, certainly with Coleen, that I would much rather my husband had done that than to have an affair.
Well,
I would much rather my husband do that than even snog somebody, because snogging is foreplay as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not moralising, because everyone knows I'm not in a position to. But I think that where it's legal and where it's safe, there are worse things that my husband could do than do that. And I know I'm in the minority, but that's just how I feel.
Do you think it's when you get married?
And I have to say, when I found out what was going on...
Yeah.
Do you know, when I actually found out, I didn't immediately think of them having sex. It wasn't that bothered me. You know what bothered me the most and hurt me like someone kicking me in the gut was him sitting there stroking her hair or holding her hand or watching a DVD together, because that's so intimate, and that means he really likes her, that he wants to spend that much time with her. I could have forgiven a one night,
and also I think there's a turn on. I don't think it's that men have to pay for sex. I think, A, that sometimes they might choose to pay for sex rather than find themselves in an affair situation.
Yeah.
And I think, and with the kind of guy thing inside me, that doesn't make sense. No, with my kind of guy head on, I can see in some circumstances how that would be a little bit of a turn on,
and not allowed.
Because it's a bit not
still
allowed.
wrong. Whatever it is.
What about if he pays? If your husband pays you for sex, you might get it more, will you? You're getting something out of it.
And also, I mean, I suppose, you know, we've all touched on it. It's the fact that it's the emotional infidelity, I think, that women, you know, are bothered by. Now, obviously, we touched on this because of the, you know, the Home Office report. Just to get the facts out, you know, in the United Kingdom itself, prostitution in itself isn't illegal. You might not know that. It's the exchange of sexual services for money. That is the exchange of sexual services for money. But a string of laws criminalises activities around prostitution, such as soliciting, curb crawling, brothels and pimping. So that's just a sort of setup.
Were you allowed to be a prostitute then?
Where are you allowed to be?
Well, I just don't... What part of it is legal?
I don't know. I'm not a prostitute, Denise. But I know that in parts of Australia, it's legal. So there you go. Right.